Welcome to the Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price. The longest running radio show in Houston, Texas is now, thanks to our partnership with Biz TV, the fastest growing TV show in business around the country. And we're excited about it. And we've got a lot of great guests and programs lined up. The Price of Business, which, by the way, you can learn a lot more about it at priceofbusiness.com, is really a media platform in and of itself. There you'll find articles of literally hundreds, or rather archives of hundreds of programs that we have waiting for your infotainment. So we want to make sure you check it out. And the reason why we have that is, like I said, the show's been around for a long time. It's been around since 2001. It is the longest running business show in Houston. And the show airs Monday through Friday on Business Talk 1110 in Houston, Texas. And so, that's kind of like the show between the show. Charles Osgood of CBS Sunday Morning, he always ends his program by saying, see you on the radio. You can say the same thing about us. You can see us on the radio Monday through Friday and not just on TV here on Sunday morning. And so we want to encourage you to do that. The easiest way to do that is at priceofbusiness.com, and that shows an hour long in the Houston market, so make sure you check it out. And we got a lot of great guests already in the works for you. Former governor of Wisconsin, Tommy Thompson's going to be on the show in January, working on a great program coming up in the next couple of weeks with one of the major presidential candidates. He's been on the radio show before. He's going to be on the TV show again, and that's my old friend Rand Paul. He and I go back to college together. Looking forward to that interview. And rumor has it, as we get closer to Super Tuesday, another good friend of mine, Ted Cruz, is going to be on the program as well. So we got a lot of great guests lined up for us on today's program. On today's show, I'm very excited to have a long-term contributor to the Price of Business radio show as our first guest on the TV show, and that's Lee Kaplan. He's an attorney here in Houston who is one of the most savvy people when it comes to business, the law, and politics, and much, much more. And so I, for one, am very excited about having you, the listener and viewer, be familiar with this. And so for our radio friends, remember, this is being aired on TV as you're listening on the radio. You'll get used to it over time. And also for our TV friends, someone you're going to want to become familiar with is my technical producer. He's been my technical producer for years, and that's the one and only Sigmund Kramer. He does not want to be seen on TV, and if you saw his picture, you'd understand why.
Well, I thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Yes, feel the love.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's I like to be the mystery man.
The mystery man.
Behind the scenes.
Right, and even as we do this, in fact, by the time you see this program, we're going to have a page just for the TV show. His image will probably be a question mark.
Well, that's what it is now. If people looked at me right now, they'd see I've erased my face. Just for the show. That's all. That's it.
Yeah. So, the very first thing he said when I said, hey, guess what? Starting in January, we're going to be on TV. He said, you're going to be on TV, not me.
I've done the TV thing. I don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah, but I thought those were all cartoons.
No. Well, yes, I've done that too, but I've had my face on film and television, and I just don't want to do it.
Yeah. Well, as you can tell,
I'm allergic.
Yeah, as you can tell, both the listener and the viewer can tell, he does have a great voice for radio. I'll give you that much.
And I have a great face for radio, too. And
that's exactly true.
I appreciate it very much.
I'll let you said that. Well, we're excited about it. You've been sitting there in the technical producer chair for literally years, and we've had extraordinary guests over the years. It's exciting to be able to share them with the TV audience.
Absolutely it is. I'm really happy that you're getting to share your show in a much bigger way to a much larger audience. They're going to love it.
Coast to coast.
Coast to coast.
That's right. And 30 million plus homes thanks to Biz TV.
Absolutely.
And so the Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he's in the works again. He's been on the show several times. As I mentioned, Rand Paul, probably some of those other presidential candidates, although Lindsey Graham won't be on,
I was going to say, you ought to get Lindsey Graham, but too late.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be among the people we'll talk about here on the program and much, much more. When we come back, we're going to have more for you. Do you want to remind you, best content here is found over there at our sister news site, usdailyreview.com, and this is The Price of Business. Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. As I promised, Lee Kaplan, he's with Smizer, Kaplan, and Veselka, the law firm here in Houston, Texas. Really an amazing law firm, and he's an amazing attorney. He's been with our show for a long time, and he's really was one of the very first people that came to mind as someone I wanted as a guest on our inaugural show here on The Price of Business. You've been a contributor on the show now for several years, and we love having you on, and you do an awesome job. And I thought, what a great person to come and pick his brain.
Well, it's fun to be here.
Well, you do a great job.
Thank you.
Tell us about your firm, and by the way, the website there is skv.com.
Our law firm has 22 lawyers as of early January. We are a litigation firm. We just do litigation. Everything from white-collar work to contract cases, securities lawsuits, patent, trade secret lawsuits. So the whole gamut of commercial activity, trials, arbitrations, and appeals. And we have just a number of lawyers who have a lot of moxie and get after cases when we're hired.
Yep, very good. Talk a little bit about, one of the reasons why we like to get you on is because of the insight you bring on the political front. I love chatting with you about that. I think you bring a lot of wisdom and discernment, about a week or so ago, Lindsey Graham has gotten out of the race. A lot of people's political futures is precarious, in particularly on the GOP side. It seems like Martin O'Malley's going to keep going just mainly because he likes to talk to a bunch of people whenever there is a debate. He doesn't seem to be catching on. But the GOP race has been really interesting to watch, not in a necessarily a good way, kind of like watching two trains collide, that type of ooh and ah.
Well, you have all these establishment candidates dividing up what presumably is an establishment vote, but among the Republican activists, there may not be as much of the establishment vote as you think. And frankly, Lindsey Graham was an unabashed defense hawk. And he was a guy who was common sense. As I heard him say maybe a month ago in a radio interview, he said, look, if we want to do something about the deficit, you cannot fail to talk about revenue. If you won't talk about revenue, you'll never get enough people to have a budget deal. And so we're going to have to talk about revenue. And I thought to myself, well, there's a Republican who's saying something pretty straightforward, and obviously that didn't catch on very much.
Right.
He never got off the second stage, and sometimes he wasn't even on the second stage.
Right.
He was a sensible guy.
He was always hanging on to the very edge. And, of course, you talked about him being a hawkish candidate, no question about it. And he's like the exact opposite extreme, if you will, to a Rand Paul. And it seems like to me that the GOP base right now wants someone in between. I don't think they want someone who sees the U.S. as the world's police force, which is what I think Lindsey Graham kind of projected as.
Well, part of the problem is there are people that I call interventionist isolationists. Mm-hmm. They don't want to have 100,000 troops somewhere, but they hope we can carpet bomb everybody into submission. And who knows whether that'll work. It worked in Bosnia and Serbia, but will it work somewhere else? So far, the returns are pretty mixed on our efforts. Now, I've heard that the effort to bomb ISIL over the last several months only picked up recently, that the military really had the gloves on and were hampered, but I don't know that to be true. I wonder whether or not everybody in the party has focused on the fact that you cannot simply have a bombing campaign and win a war. Mm-hmm. And some of them haven't faced up to that yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And he sounds like the type of guy that probably would have been willing to put troops on the ground if he were elected president again.
That's right. He called for 10,000 troops. Even President Obama said, I may not agree with anything he says, but at least he has an articulated plan. Nobody else has a plan except to carpet bomb somebody out of existence.
Yeah. Lee Kaplan. With Smizer, Kaplan, and Veselka, and skv.com. We're going to hold you for another segment.
Great.
All right. Do you want to remind a listener there and the viewer, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. Make sure while you're there you like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter, and this is The Price of Business.